This meeting is now being recorded.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to February's EI Monthly Technical Assistance Call. This is Monica Harrington, and in our room we have Lanita Hartman, Ashley Ness, Tracy Sperry, Ashley Fernie, and Amanda Fenton. And our other team is joining us also at other places. So, thank you all for being here. Today, we're going to be talking about the Unicorn, providing information on the provider portal, troubleshooting common errors, and going through a lot of information, as well as CAPTA clarifications, data, and resources. So just for a heads up, this call may go over. We have a lot of information to cover today. It is being recorded. And the information will be posted as soon as possible for you to review. But because of the time, we're not going to be opening up for questions, but please enter your questions in the chat, and we will gather all of those at the end of the call. And you can email Ashley Ness if you have questions about the provider portal and Unicorn, or Lanita Hartman if you have questions revolving CAPTA, and they will respond to you as soon as they can. So I'll turn it over to Ashley, and we'll get ready for the provider portal update.
All right, thank you, Monty. Hey, everyone, this is Ashley Ness. I have some really exciting updates that I want to go through, and I have a ton of information. So as Monty said, if you do have questions on anything, just go ahead and write them down, send them to me in an email, and I'll try my best to get to them by the end of this week, so tomorrow. So the Unicorn Provider Portal, this did go live this last week. It went live on Monday. Provider contacts have been migrated over into the Unicorn. We have not given access to the providers just yet because we are still working out any bugs that came with the deployment in the Unicorn. So we've identified 2 bugs, and 2 of them have been resolved. The first one was users were having an issue when they were creating a new client case from a contact. That one has been resolved. The other bug was providers being flagged on activities. So that one also has been resolved. So you guys can create utilizations and activities as usual. If you are running into any other bugs, please give me a heads up so I can log that bug and we can get it resolved. The other one that isn't on here that we are working on is before users were able to double click into fields in the client case. That has gone away just temporarily. The workaround is to just, if you're in the client case and you need to edit a field, you're just going to have to select the edit button up top, edit the field as usual, and then save. But we are working on getting that double click within the field back. So what you guys need to do, so do not create any new provider contact records in the Unicorn. All new providers are going to be able to register through the portal, and they're automatically going to create a service provider contact record that will be linked to the Unicorn. So the new contact record type is service provider. So we are no longer going to be using provider as contact records. It's always going to be a service provider. Keep in mind, if you have any reports on in your personal folder or within your CCB that are pulling based off of a contact record type equal provider, you're just going to need to adjust it so the contact record type now equals service provider. If you need help with that, go ahead and give me a call. I'm more than happy to walk you through how to do this. So, like I had said, the portal went live, but we have not given access to the providers to the portal just yet because we're working out those bugs. So starting on Monday, we're going to give access to, we're going to put out the link to all of the providers. So only service providers need to have access to the portal. Service coordinators can log and update all of their information into the Unicorn. And just keep in mind that portal is just for service providers. It's for people that are providing those services on the IFSP. It's a community portal. It has different license types. So everybody that's in the Unicorn, keep entering information into the Unicorn. You'll be able to see all the service providers' information. There's no need for you to go into the portal. Portal is for providers. So we're currently working on migrating all the child outcome ratings and provider licenses and certificates. We're also going to migrate if service coordinators had any information or documents in the provider database. That stuff will be coming over as well. There's a ton of information, as I'm sure everybody is aware. So this migration process is going to take a few months to complete, so just be patient with it. When the providers get into the system on Monday, they'll be able to see their basic information and they'll be able to see which CCB they're registered with. We anticipate that the migration will be complete by June of 2018. So now, with the portal, users can enter all child outcome ratings in the Unicorn as of this week. So if an entry was entered in the old provider database, enter the exit in the Unicorn. All ratings from the old provider days will be migrated over. You might not see them right away, but that's okay. I'm running data, I'm collecting data, and I'm matching them in both systems. So no need for you guys to go and do duplicate data entry. Oh, and this applies to no matter where you are in the Go For It process. So some features of the new portal include CCBs are going to be able to approve new provider requests within the system. So they'll be notified if there's a new provider that wants to register and work with their CCB. They're going to be notified via that primary email address field on the account page, on your CCB account page. So this last week, been hounding some people to make sure that they get their primary email address updated. Thank you, everybody, for getting all of that done. It's going to be great. If you ever need to update that, users can go in and do that themselves. Another update is providers will be reminded to update any of their credentials that are about to expire. So if they have something that's going to expire in 30 days, they're going to get a reminder that you need to get in there and update that information. Another feature is that CCBs will be able to request providers for new services directly through the system. So this feature is currently available right now. However, it's not going to work optimally until providers have all of their information updated. So we'll provide more examples of what this is going to look like in training at a later date. We can expect that this will be utilized by June of 2018. All validation rules that are coming with the provider portal, we have lifted those just temporarily because we want to make sure that everything is working seamlessly before we implement any sort of validation rules. So all of those will be implemented by June. So providers must have an active status in order to be able to bill and to be connected to any sort of utilization. Providers are also going to need to enter their Medicaid ID in the provider portal. This is going to be connected to billing. This validation rule will be implemented in early spring. So I'm sure you're wondering, are there training documents? Yes. So we do have training documents that are available for providers. All of them are located on the EI Colorado website. So we have videos in there right now. So if you're curious to see what the portal does look like, you can go ahead and you can watch any of those videos. We also do have some written instructions that I think will be uploaded by tomorrow. So go ahead and if you want to take a look, when you log on to the EI Colorado website, you just first click on Community Centered Boards. And then over on the left-hand side, go ahead and select Technical Assistance. And there below, you'll be able to see all of the available trainings. Another new feature, which I'm really excited and I've had great help from Ashley Fernie on being able to develop this, is that if a user encounters a bug or has a suggestion on how to enhance the EI data system, you can please utilize the link before it. It's in FormSite, and I believe Ashley is going to be posting the link in the chat right there. So here you can just go here. If it's a bug, you'll be able to identify if it's a bug and what type of bug it is. So if it's preventing you from doing your work, we'll review those right away. If it's a suggestion, you can go to the next slide. So if it's a bug, I'll be addressing those immediately. So I'll address that immediately with the user. And then if it's, then I'll also be posting it in the chatter. So you may have noticed this past week that I have been posting any sort of bugs that have been known in the chatter. I try my best to post in the chatter as much as possible when it's a bug that multiple people have reported. So please just make sure that you're always checking the chatter. So if it's a suggestion that you are logging through this form, the suggestions are going to be reviewed and considered for future enhancement projects. So we can't make every suggestion. We have to go through a pretty strict vetting process here at the state to make sure that if it's a suggestion that will enhance everybody's user's experience, or if it's something that already exists to date, we really have to go through a lot of channels to make sure that we can make that enhancement happen. So something that did occur this last month is that we have now added provider travel to be billed as a transaction. So when providers are going out and doing an evaluation, you can go ahead for an initial IFSP. You can now go ahead and attach provider travel to that transaction. You can also attach interpreter if an interpreter went with. The way you're going to do this is you're just going to be creating that transaction as normal. And then over on the very far right, you're going to see there's a link for other services. So you'll be able to click on that, add the service, the provider, create. It's all going to be right there in that transaction. So I'm super excited about that. Hopefully you guys are too. Some upcoming enhancements that we're going to be doing. So the Evaluation and Assessment tab that's currently on the IFSP, we're going to be pulling that tab into its own section in the Unicorn. So users are going to enter the evaluation and eligibility prior to creating that IFSP. Once a user creates an IFSP, the information is going to populate into the IFSP. So it's just like how you guys are working right now. You're entering the referral information, contact, and account information. Then when you go to the IFSP, any information that has been entered on those objects carry over onto the IFSP. This is just going to be one other thing that's going to carry over onto the IFSP. It's also going to be in the print PDF. Some other enhancements that will be coming. So we're incorporating medication Medicaid validation rules. So continue to encourage those providers to enroll with Medicaid. When we have more information on how these validation rules are going to be looking and operating, we'll be sure to let you guys know as soon as possible because I know this is a big one for everyone. The Ifsp Outcomes, whenever a user creates a new outcome, the status on that outcome is going to default to new. We're also going to require users to update a status at review. So make sure that you guys are updating the statuses of outcomes and reviewing each outcome at review. So now I'm going to go over just some common errors that have been reported. And I'm not saying the solution is going to work 100% of the time. These are the solutions that I have found to be the most beneficial and helpful for me. So the first one is the Unicorn is not pulling IFSP outcomes over when creating a review. This issue usually occurs if a user is trying to create a review and there isn't an active IFSP. So for example, if you're going in and the child has an initial IFSP and you're going in to create that periodic review, you need to make sure the active checkbox on that initial IFSP is checked and then go ahead and create that review. Another common error, I actually really like this one, so please follow up with me if you have questions on this one. So users have to constantly verify their identity. So a user will go and sign in and it'll be like, please verify that you are a valid person and you're a valid user of the system. So a couple of things that you can do. If you're working from your work computer, go ahead and check that Remember Me. If you're working in a public area, I don't know where you would be working, don't check the Remember Me. Only make sure that you're checking on that if you're working from your work computer. If you are still getting it, go ahead and send an email to me, and I will verify your IP address in the back end and make sure that it is secure so you'll never get that error message again. So again, I kind of like this error message. Like, I really like being able to enter those IP addresses. Don't ask me why. It's a little thing. It makes me happy. If you want to make me happy, send me this error message. Another one. Oh, this one. Everybody's probably rolling their eyes at this one, I hope. So you go and to print the IFSP and you get this awesome error message that says PDF generation failed. Check the page markup is valid. That error message is not helpful at all. So here is what is happening. So this error message typically occurs when a user is entering the IFSP in a Word document and then copying from that Word document and pasting into the IFSP. So the system does not recognize when there is a Word paragraph formatting. The system doesn't like it. So a solution for you guys to do, utilize that offline IFSP. So that is an option for you guys to do. If using Word, do not apply any paragraph formatting. So no paragraph formatting if you're entering an IFSP in a Word formatting. When you do get that error message, what you have to do is, and this is what you have to do because this is what I have to do when people email me. So this is what you're going to have to do. Users are going to have to go to the text-rich areas of the IFSP. So those are the outcomes, concerns and priorities, any of the global outcomes, family assessment areas, and search for that formatting error. So to search for that formatting error, you're going to have to edit each one of those boxes, and then when you edit it, down below here, this screenshot, you're going to see there's like a little box, and then the text is in the box. When you hover your mouse in there, there's going to be a little red line that appears. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to cut the text out of that box and paste into a Word document. Yes, I know that sounds funny because the whole issue is coming from a Word document, but just trust me. Paste it into a Word document, you go back to the IFSP and delete that box, make sure that red line disappears, and you go to your Word document and copy and paste just the text. So no paragraph formatting, just the text, save, verify that you don't get that weird little box or red line, save, and users will be able to print. So that is how you get through that error message. I know it sounds like a lot of steps, but it's actually once you find it and use it, it's pretty easy. The next one, IFSP not saving. So the solution, it is still unknown. Give me one second, computer. Okay, so I have logged a bug with our developers with this. They have not been able to figure it out. I have talked to some of our IT folks and some other data analysts here, and people still don't have a very honest, great reason for this. But I will tell you here are some of the commonalities that I have found to be true. So users are using Internet Explorer. So the current version of Internet Explorer is supported by Salesforce. However, Internet Explorer is not compatible in the Visual Force pages. So if you're using Internet Explorer and you're entering an IFSP, you're probably going to run into a lot of issues. So if you're using Internet Explorer and working in a Visual Force page, make sure that your Java and jQuery are up to date. Another commonality is if you're working on one IFSP, but you have it open in multiple different browser tabs, that I have found to be really confusing, and a lot of times users will exit out of one when they meant to save it. It's just try to only work in one browser at a time when you're working on that IFSP. One thing that I want to clarify is when a child closes and exits early intervention, the users are selecting the appropriate closed reason. So closed eligible, this is for a child that was active and had a complete eligibility. So eligibility was determined, outcomes developed. Closed enrolled, that is a child was never active or had an evaluation or had an IFSP. So closed not enrolled, no IFSP, closed eligible, IFSP, outcomes, all that great stuff. Reminder. So if you're sending an email that contains any information about a child, please just be sure you're sending the email secure. So sending an email regarding a child in an unsecure email is considered a data breach. That first example over there where you have the subject line, you have the child's name in the subject line, do not ever, even if you are sending a secure email, include the child's name in the subject line. The second example over here, you have an encrypt. Just tell me, hey, error message, IFSP problem. Whatever you're experiencing, just make sure it's encrypt. Never include the child's name. CAPTA. Okay, so we are going to be switching seats just a little bit, transitioning over to CAPTA. So last spring, I think you guys will all remember that we did a really big drill down on missing CAPTA referrals. So these were the CAPTA referrals that were not found, that were not matched from trails into the Unicorn. So it was determined because of everybody's work that the referrals weren't actually missing. It was due to a mismatch. So the names were spelled wrong on the referral and didn't match what that was entered in the Unicorn, and the same thing with the date of birth. So due to everyone's efforts with this CAPTA referral, our found rate went from an average of 65% all the way up to 89%. So that 11% difference right there was determined to be mismatched. So we know if we ever fall below 89%, we might have to do a little bit more digging around. So with that, the past 3 months, the percentage for those CAPTA referrals found in early intervention, so those matched with trails, it slowly has been declining. And this month we have dropped to 80%. So this is the lowest it has been since the drill down last spring.
Okay, so this is Juanita, and I'm going to take it from here with some clarifications around process, and hopefully we're going through slides pretty quickly, so if we have time at the end, we will go through and answer the questions in the chat. So this is just a reminder about the formal language within the law as a refresher. The key word here is substantiated or founded. So when we talk about CAPTA at the state, we're really talking about a child under the age of 3 who has a founded case of abuse or neglect. So we know that sometimes communities get in the habit of just calling all referrals from social services CAPTA. That is inaccurate, and we really want to get in the habit of thinking of CAPTA as children under 3 with a founded case of abuse or neglect. Okay, so in terms of these referrals and thinking about the Unicorn, as soon as a referral comes in, enter it as soon as you possibly can. It's critical in capturing this data and being accurate with it. So as I've said a couple times, CAPTA referrals are for children that have a founded case of abuse and neglect. And so when you're thinking about entering that into the Unicorn, you're going to select Child Welfare /CAPTA. And a referral for developmental screening is required to be made through trails by Child Welfare to early intervention for any child that has a founded case of abuse or neglect. So all of those referrals should be coming through trails if you're marking them Child Welfare /CAPTA in the Unicorn. And this is just a screenshot of where you would select that. Okay? So Referrals from social services. So caseworkers also have the option of referring children through to early intervention, through trails, if there's a concern about the child's development. That's if there's not a founded case of abuse or neglect. So maybe they closed that case, they didn't have a finding, they're still worried, and they have concerns. You would choose, when you're entering that information into the Unicorn, you would choose social services. So those are children with a concern. You may get those outside of trails as well. That may be a phone call or a paper copy, and you would select social services for your referral choice. Another option is that you may get a CAPTA referral from Ashley Ness. So if she's sending you something from the state, you would choose EI office, state office /CAPTA. So there are the three choices that are related to either social services or a CAPTA referral. Okay? Now, we've had a lot of questions about referrals that come through trails and or through other means. CAPTA is not noted. It's not checked. No concerns are checked. What should we do? The first thing, if possible, you're going to follow up with the referral source to just make sure it's not a CAPTA referral, no one has any concerns, and if that is the case, then you are not going to follow up on that referral, you're not going to enter it into the Unicorn, there's nothing to follow up on. Those are not the referrals we should be chasing because they haven't marked CAPTA, they don't have a concern. What is there to really do moving forward? Other challenges just to be aware of, child welfare caseworkers have 60 days to close an assessment in trails. So when they initially get a referral and they enter information, it may be complete, incomplete, it may be inaccurate by the time the referral is made 60 days later to early intervention. Right now in trails, once that initial referral information has been entered, it can't be edited. And so by the time a family has been contacted by us, not only has a long period of time lapsed, also that information may not be accurate. So we realize that's a challenge, and that is something that is going to be addressed in trails between June and December of this year, so that a caseworker can go in and edit contact information in real time, and we really hope that that is going to help improve the accuracy of the contact information. But we do want you to note that if a child, if there's a founded case of abuse and neglect, it can't be closed out in trails until a referral is made to EI through trails. So that's a really important thing to note. So you should not be receiving paper copies, phone calls that are referrals from caseworkers. They need to come through trails. So if that's a problem for your community, please reach out to me and let me know, because that's something I can definitely support you with. The other fix that's going to be happening in trails is that the caseworker contact information will be able to be updated, and the CCB referral information will be able to be easily updated by Matt Holtman, who is the CAPTA administrator. Right now they have to put in a fix and a request for that to change CCB contact information. Let's see. Can you go back a slide, Monty? I just want to make sure I get that. So another point that can be challenging is, so let's say that there was a founded case of abuse and neglect. So there is the requirement to make a referral to EI, but that case is closed. If that is the case, then the caseworker doesn't have involvement with the family any longer, and they can't share additional information about the child and family. It's just like early intervention. So once we aren't involved with the child and family anymore, we don't have permission to share that. And so that can make it really difficult to follow up on a referral, and we recognize that. But just be aware, if it's founded but closed, you may encounter that problem. So in terms of ongoing outreach and technical assistance, a lot of communities are working on sharing information back and forth about their processes so we can better understand them. We recognize there's a lot of turnover with caseworkers as well as service coordinators, and so it may be that you have to think about this on a monthly basis where you're sharing what early intervention is, how to make a referral, who to contact on a regular basis. So because we have a requirement that you have an MOU with your local county DHS offices, that's a requirement on the part of CCBs. It's not a child welfare requirement, so that makes it challenging to get those MOUs completed and in an active format that you use. So we know that those informal agreements are just as important. So to address that, we have been working closely with Matt Holtman, who is the new Lorindia Schmidt, the new CAPTA administrator, and we can facilitate joint technical assistance, community conversations to work through issues between early intervention and child welfare to support you with some of those pieces. The other piece that we've developed through the CAPTA work group, and thanks to Kellyanna and Kim Bills who have supported us with this, we hope within the next month to be able to share with you a template that you can spell out your process in a less formal way that can be changed without executive director signatures around who does what, who should be contacted, what information can be shared, and to just support your process. So we will be sharing that template so you can pilot it and we can work out some of the kinks. And it talks about requirements for CCBs, child welfare, as well as child find, and it goes through all the steps of the process that are relevant for each agency. Another piece of this work has been a small screening pilot that North Metro has been a part of to determine if offering families screening instead of a full evaluation, if that impacts the likelihood that families will choose to engage in early intervention. Right now, that project is funded through July of 2018, and if you're interested in more information about that, you can reach out to Kelly Montoya so that she can share more detailed information about it. But we want to share some of the initial findings of that screening pilot, and this is probably not news to most of you that are involved in the CAPTA work. Across the state and across the country, we hear that most families that are referred through CAPTA are non-responsive. We have a big problem with incorrect phone numbers, contact information, which we said we're working on, hoping to fix that as much as we can. So for North Metro, of the families contacted, 5 were offered the ASQ and 2 accepted. So, you know, that's not really, you know, different than what we've heard across the state. The children who were screened both went on to a full evaluation. At this time, we don't see that offering a screening is making a significant difference in the number of families agreeing to participate in EI. More work probably needs to be done on that, but those are the initial findings. Now I want to share with you a couple updated resources. So the CAPTA and Beyond webinar was re-recorded and updated and it's intended for CCB intake staff, administrators, service coordinators, and also DHS counterparts, so caseworkers and intake staff, child find intake staff, and evaluators. Right now, it's located on the home page of the EI website. It takes about 20 minutes to listen to, so please take the time to go through it again if you haven't, and share it and promote its use. It really walks through how to use the FAQ online document so we can be on the same page about CAPTA requirements and who has parental decision-making authority and questions of that nature. It also reviews the federal and state laws.
Just to clarify, so it is located on the front page in what we call the carousel. You can get to it through one of those fast buttons, but it's that just links you directly to the CAPTA technical assistance information on our website. So you can get to it by accessing either one of those areas.
Thank you, Monty. It's also going to be moved in terms of the CAPTA online FAQ itself is housed within the child welfare website, and we hope that sometime this summer it will actually be migrating to the child welfare training platform, which will make it much more easy to navigate and be more interactive. So right now it's not in its prettiest form. All the information is there, but it's not as user-friendly as we would like it to be right now. But here's the link to that FAQ. So there's the webinar and the FAQ.
Look at that, you guys.
We're speedy.
We thought we were going to run out of time because we had a lot of information. So since we do have time left on our call, we're going to walk through the questions that are in the chat and answer those for everybody. And we'll just start at the top. So the first question is from Nikki. Where in the Unicorn do we enter the exit child outcome summary ratings for the children who had entry cost forms completed, since they are numbers and not the global outcomes rating?
So you're going to be entering all of the child outcome ratings on the global outcomes tab in the IFSP and the Unicorn. And it's just when you click on the global outcomes tab, you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to be filling out like the actual rating for each of them.
The numbers correspond to the wording. So the decision tree is that was with the numbers is the same with the wording. So you would just align whatever number to the correct wording to do your rating. That makes sense.
Yes. And when yes. And when you do print it, I believe the rating does print on the PDF version.
Okay, next question from Jara. If we are able to enter the assessment eligibility information prior to creating the IFSP, if a child is not eligible for services, will we not have to create the full IFSP?
That is correct. So if you go through that assessment eligibility information and the child is not eligible, you're done. No IFSP. Closed, not enrolled.
Okay. From Jody, just to confirm, when using the offline IFSP, if your computer shuts down, you lose the IFSP, correct?
Well, yeah. So if you are using the offline IFSP and you're typing on your computer, and if your battery dies or anything like that, yes, you will lose the offline IFSP because you have to have a computer to do it.
Also, in addition to the provider portal video demos, will there be written instructions either added to the EI Data System User Guide or as a separate document available on the TA tab?
So right now they are going to be a separate document, and we have not posted them to the EI website just yet. We will have those up and ready by tomorrow. And we'll share the link.
For Go For It children who complete their EI eval, but who do not complete the second meeting to write an IFSP, should we close them as closed eligible or closed not enrolled?
So if the child just went to the eval and no IFSP was developed, then they're closed, not enrolled.
And this is Ashley Fernie. So this is a really important thing to remember, especially when we get to the QIO, because we're pulling in all children that are closed eligible or active. And if that child should actually be closed not enrolled because they have a blank IFSP, we are still assessing those, and that can bring down your quality score when in reality that one shouldn't have been included in that sample. So as long as we're closing them accurately, we won't run into that issue.
And then Lori, so no, I changed my answer. I'm not going to post the answers to these questions in the chatter. I just said them.
Okay. In these cases, do we need just the ratings? For Risa, this is her question. Are you referring to children who had their entry in the old provider database and you're doing their all your entry into the system now? Are you saying do we just need the rating, or do you need to do the strengths and needs also? Is that your question?
Yes.
Yes. Juanita, do you want to answer that?
So, Lisa, this isn't any differently. So I don't want people to get hung up on the fact that they did an entry rating in one system. Just let us take care of that. We'll migrate that over and get it into the Unicorn. You're going to proceed in the Unicorn just as you would with any child for subsequent ratings. So their next rating that you're required to do, just put it in the Unicorn like you would with a child you were starting out with in the Unicorn.
Okay. To clarify, if a child has an evaluation and found eligible, but the family decides not to participate, is that closure, not enrolled, or closed eligible?
So if the child went to do an evaluation and did not have an IFSP developed, no outcomes, no services, closed, not enrolled. There is a drop down for closed, not enrolled exit reason, like family decline. You can choose that.
Okay. So exit ratings should be in Unicorn even if entry ratings were not. Does it need done in the provider database also?
So let's pretend the provider database is dead, gone, no more. You go to it, your computer will crash. The entry was in there, I'll get it. That's my problem. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to figure out the entry. If the entry was in the provider database, exit is now in the Unicorn. Entry will eventually be in the Unicorn. Not today. It's probably not going to be there in a couple months, but it will be there.
Yay! No more provider database to worry about. Just the Unicorn. Hooray!
So Mickey has a question. It won't be entered as a number anymore, correct? Just whatever global outcome rating that number translates to.
That is correct.
And just if you want to know a little more information, it's stored as a number on the back end, but as you've been working through, with the program as initiative unit through all of your hard go for it work, we know that that's the language that you're using with the family to make it family friendly. So we do record that as a number, and we report that to OSEP in our child outcome rating scores. So know that it's in there, but just choose it associated with the language, knowing that there is a number associated with each of those scores.
Thank you. And to answer your question, Sue, about the links being mailed out, when you guys get the follow-up email that I send after the recordings have all been posted to let you know how to access them, I can include links in that email as well. So you'll be able to access them through the PowerPoint when it's posted, and I'll try to remember to get them in that email also.
All the links will also be on the EI website.
Okay. What if an IFSP was written but no services were ever received?
So if an IFSP was written and then if no services because the family changed their mind halfway through the process, closed, not enrolled, and then you can choose an exit reason as family declined.
If you receive a screening for a child does not note any concerns or need for evaluation, do you mark it as closed, not enrolled, and upload the screening document?
No, you don't have to. You can just choose closed, not enrolled as the exit reason.
Okay.
Well, okay. This is a situation, just to clarify, Whitney, so are you talking about you get a referral, but they're saying there's no concerns, then you're not going to do anything with that, correct, Ashley? If this is a situation where they get a referral based on a screening with no concerns, they wouldn't follow up and do an evaluation for this child. They wouldn't do anything in the Unicorn.
No.
Because it's not a referral, really.
But for like a CAPTA referral?
Well, that's just basically any referral. If you get a referral and there's no concerns, it's not a referral.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Are we ready?
To move on?
Yep. Okay. So for referral work groups that I'm in, they like to know how many were evaluated. With closed, not enrolled, how can I determine how many total evaluations we've had?
So you can still fill out the evaluation tab on the IFSP. So that's kind of one of those things that we talked about, that the reason why we're bringing out the evaluation tab from the IFSP. The users don't have to go in and create that IFSP. So you're still filling out the evaluation and assessment tab.
Okay. So you're saying something doesn't make sense because a family can receive case management only? Okay, evaluation tab makes sense. Okay, good. I'm glad we could clarify that. And I don't see any other questions.
I think to Sue's question where it says it doesn't make sense a family can receive case management only. So just a clarification for the question that came up about if a family has consented, they've signed an IFSP, they've signed and consented for services. So at that date that they signed that and completed it, there is a completed IFSP that does get indicated as closed eligible. If there is a completed IFSP, it's signed. The next day a family chooses they don't consent for services any longer, then you go ahead and exit them out. It's the point of if the IFSP is complete, they would be considered a child that is in early intervention. That's how you indicate that they're closed eligible, because they're active in EI. So for the family, if you you decided that they otherwise are receiving EI services, but you're maybe doing monthly check-ins, if that's a decision that your CCB has made, then yeah, you're right, Sue, so that child would be eligible and you would continue that if that is the service that you are providing.
Right. And if they're enrolled and are active with your CCB, even if it's case management only, they need to have an active IFSP.
Correct.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Are there any more questions? Remember to please contact, Lanita if you have specific questions about CAPTA, and Ashley if there's needing more information about the provider portal or Unicorn. But if anyone has any additional questions right now, we can try and get them answered for you.
Whitney, did we clarify your question? Yes and no.
Sounds about right.
How about we talk offline so we can get more information about your specific circumstance?
Yeah, and this is Amanda. Whitney, if you want to go ahead and just follow up with me directly, I think I can help you with that.
Okay. So thank you everybody for participating today and for all of your questions. Again, this was a lot of information, so just remember that you will have access to the recording as well as these slides here shortly, and you can refer back to them as needed. So thank you everybody, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Bye.